Uh, I had something that I wanted to discuss with you that it's kind of a new thing, but I wanted to drop it on you and I wanted to keep it a surprise. I didn't want to tell you beforehand, but I'm starting to understand a little bit what's happening with like what the aftermath and the repercussions of the Super League are. And you know me, I'm not the kind of person who will kind of break news on Twitter or like have or like drop like sources say or whatever per source. I'm not going to do that. I'll sometimes drop it in my articles and stuff, but I'm not I'm not much of a conspiracy theorist, although I am sometimes definitely skeptical about what's going on behind the scenes and what we know and what we don't know. I can just tell you that I know someone on the Real Madrid board, and I'm starting to understand now what is happening this summer. If you look at our preseason tour, we're playing only two teams in Europe. And if you look at Barcelona's preseason tour, they're only playing two teams in Europe. And it's the three teams from the Super League. And Roma canceled their game against Barca. And Roma have behind the scenes friendship ties with PSG and Al Khalifi, and also Seferin has also, it's been leaked recently. I think it was it The Athletic, New York Times maybe that leaked it, that he has threatened certain teams from playing against those three Super League teams in the preseason friendlies. And again, this is just based on what I know. I think there's a lot of teams just are not going to play with Real Madrid, Real Madrid, Juve, and Barca. So I don't know if that's something that you thought about before I just dropped it on you, but I didn't even realize that this was happening until it makes sense now when you look at everything that's happening around the landscape.
Yeah, this is honestly what I had not thought about it at all. And it does make perfect sense. So yeah, it makes perfect sense. I mean, what of course UEFA is gonna, if they can't, they're not gonna be able to knock us out of the Champions League. So they're gonna do everything in their power to try and make it difficult for Real Madrid, Barcelona, and Juventus to try and generate revenue, earn money, like if they can pit other clubs against them and whatever means necessary they can do that. Like if they give them incentives in other ways, who knows? I would fully believe UEFA to do that. So it makes sense. And it's kind of, I don't know. What do you think of it? Like, what do you think of that long term? Do you think this is something that can be sustained, or that other clubs can really get away with doing to these three kind of titan clubs or super clubs, as to call it?
I kind of feel there is a bit of helplessness to it. I'm not saying that we're saints. I'm certainly not saying Barca or Juve are saints. I can certainly say maybe we're more saintly than those two, but it's subjective, I guess. If you go down the track record, though, I can safely say that, whatever, none of us are saints. None of these clubs are saints. The only reason the other clubs backed out was because there was PR backlash, and if there wasn't protests in the streets, none of those clubs would have backed out. They didn't back out for their own personal belief of the Super League being wrong or right. They backed out because of the PR purposes, and we haven't done that. I just am so annoyed that FIFA and UEFA are so corrupt. And you think about, like, The Guardian had an article out, I think it was today, about the fact that Qatar is not doing anything for LGBTQ rights during the World Cup. They actually, the wording of the article was that they literally will not guarantee the safety of LGBTQ, which is shocking. Whatever extreme stance you have on the subject, I don't care what extreme stance you have. That is a shocking thing. So UEFA and FIFA don't care about that stuff. You know what I mean? Like it's like, but they go so far out of their way to chastise and also to virtue signal about, the Super League was so wrong and all this. And I just think, like, it's kind of unfortunate that we still are so reliant on such a corrupt organization. That's all I'll say. So I just find it annoying. I don't know long term. I don't know how this actually pans out, but it's annoying that we're still dependent on them.
Well, think about this too. Had if the roles were reversed and Florentino and Jose Angel Sanchez or Butragueño, whoever would have been, like they never ever would have done this. But if the roles were reversed and Real Madrid had gone down into PSG's dressing room after the second leg and threw a tantrum and smashed somebody's phone and cursed out the referees, like what type of repercussions would there have been? It would have been unreal, the hysteria and just the media coverage and the frenzy, and UEFA would have been just drinking it up. But Al Khalifi does it and PSG do it, and not even a slap on the wrist. Like literally nothing happened.
Yeah, there's no repercussions. They don't play by the same rules because they're not accountable the way the other clubs are. So there's that. So that's something I wanted to hit you with.